What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. We have something incredibly cool for you today, something really special. I don't know if this is considered a sneak peek or an early release or what you might call this, but this isn't even really out yet. This is something that I've only seen on paper until I got it in my hand. Many of you might not have ever heard of this before, but what this is the 400 Legend. A new cartridge that's supposedly going to be offered by Winchester. We don't know exactly what's going on with this because this gun and this cartridge is not released. Now, this upper receiver has been chambered for the SAMMI spec of 400 Legend. This round right here, this did not come from Winchester. This is not head stamped 400 Legend. This is actually Carcano brass that has been turned into 99.9% 400 Legend. So the 400 Legend itself is a 6.8 SPC base, and I believe that is partnered with a 6.5 Grendel body. And then that's how they get their brass, I think. Don't totally quote me on that. But this here is a 6.5 Carcano case worked around to be a 400 Legend. So we have a 99.9% 400 Legend. The upper receiver, though, is definitely 400 Legend all the way. When they do release that cartridge, if they release that cartridge, we're going to be able to fire it through this upper, no problem. And this isn't the exact ammo they're going to be releasing, but I think this is actually cooler. From what I saw on the spec sheet, they're going to be releasing a 215 grain bullet going at about 2,230 feet per second. The cartridges we have today are a 200 grain XTP, and we'll find out the velocity of that. And then we have a 240 grain cast lead bullet, and we'll be figuring out the velocity of that. We're going to really quick get this lined up with the red dot, make sure it's on enough to hit the gel. We're going to slam the plate a couple times, and we're going to hit the gel with both of these rounds today. But first, let's just do a little bit of cartridge comparison. So a lot of us love the 308 or 7.62x51. A lot of people love the 223 or 5.56. And then there's the 10mm lovers, and then there's the baby 10mm, also known as the 40 Smith & Wesson. Now, I personally like all of these cartridges. Now, here's the comparison, and here's something that's really important, is keep in mind this 223 5.56 round. Let's get the 308 out of here for now. When you introduce the 400 Legend empty case, you're going to see that with just about any projectile they put in it, it's going to equal the length, for the most part, of this 5.56 round. And that's really important to be able to fit it into the same magazines as a 5.56 would fit in. So as you can see, they're both going to fit in there, especially when they actually have a round in it, or a bullet. So have enough room to put many different types of projectiles, but that's what they're going for, is to get the ability to use 5.56 magazines or body size magazines. Now, what they've done is they've basically, and I showed this in my previous video when I made the mock-up, when I first found out about this, they've taken a 10mm case, and then if you were to cut the rim off of a 40 caliber, just completely cut the rim off of it, and what you have left over case capacity wise, it's pretty much, if you stack that on top of that, you're going to end up with the 400 Legend for the most part. So it's kind of like stacking 40 caliber case capacity on top of 10mm case capacity, and you end up with a loaded bullet or cartridge with a bullet that looks like that. So it's definitely a super 10mm, it's a Magnum 10mm, it's a super Magnum 10mm, it's whatever you want to call it, but Winchester's going to call their version of it the 400 Legend, from what we understand. Now, the reason I'm speaking in I don't knows, and basically I'm not sure about what Winchester is going to be doing, is because this is not something that they've released to the public. How do I have my hands on this right now? How do I have this ammunition in my hand? I'm not a gunsmith, I'm not a manufacturer of anything, I'll tell you that right now. So this did not come from Winchester. This is an upper receiver. So this here lower is just my CMMG Mark IV, just a basic AR-15 lower receiver. It's the upper receiver that's cool. So T2 Armory, you guys know them from the Bushwhacker. If you guys have been watching my channel at all, you know about the Bushwhacker. If you haven't seen the Bushwhacker, you've got to check it out. So T2 Armory created the Bushwhacker. Now, disclaimer right off the bat, they're not selling this to anybody. They're not making this, manufacturing this to put out onto the market. This is just a fun project. So keep that in mind, that they're not going to make this ammunition and sell it as 400 Legend ammunition. They might make some cool projectiles that you can load into 400 Legend if you end up loading it yourself, if they put the gun and the cartridge out there. But this upper receiver, it's not made for the public. It's just a fun thing. So that leads to exactly how I have this firearm. So I was talking with T2 Armory, and we were talking about various things like we do, and the 400 Legend came up, And see, the thing about them that's special is they are a machine shop. They've chambered the BFRs in the 500 Bushwhacker, so they know how to do this kind of stuff. They really quickly, they said, hey, we can put that together. They were already working on a project that was kind of similar, so they had an upper receiver laying around, and they quickly just chambered it to the SAMMI specs. The public information's out there, you know what the dimensions are, so they quickly chambered it, and these guys are gurus at making ammunition, so really quick, they threw together some ammunition, and here we go. We basically have a 400 Legend, 99.9%. And I stress that 99.9% because it didn't come from Winchester. So I have no idea when they plan to release this gun. Could be soon, could be later, could be never. If they do release it, I have no idea who's gonna get it first. I do know that we kind of have it first, so let's get to shooting, let's get to seeing what it's all about. And remember, I'm not sponsored or paid by anybody. This is not an advertisement for T2 Armory, but this is something cool that they did. They let me borrow this upper receiver, they sent me ammunition. Those are really cool people, you should check them out. But again, not a sponsorship or anything. This is just for fun. So we're about to put the first one in this gun to get on paper down there. I want to see if this red dot's anywhere near zeroed so that I can get on that gel properly. That red dot is very accurate at this distance. And that was a good little push. That's definitely a 10mm kicked up a notch for sure. I really like that actually. There's where I hit, there's where I aimed. I gotta make a couple quick click adjustments, then we're gonna hit some gel. But before we hit the gel, I do want to clang steel once or twice real quick. All right, I'm just gonna aim at the center of the man-sized steel, nothing special. I just want to hear what it sounds like. That sounds pretty good. I'm telling you, that actually, you can feel it in your shoulder. It's pretty good thump, but it delivered it on the steel pretty good. Yeah, I think that put a thumping on something for sure. Let's hit the gel. Now, even though, like we said, these XTPs are not rifle rounds, they're still putting one heck of a wallop on this plate. There's some pretty good dents there where they hit. That's impressive, because you know these things are just dusting themselves. All right, we're 25 feet off the chronograph. Hope it works in our sun conditions right now. 25 feet off the gel, basically. Let's send the 200 grain XTP downrange. Now, again, this is not a rifle round, but let's see how explosive this thing might be once it hits that gel. This might be pretty impressive, or it might be a dud. Let's see. Well, that did some destroying. Let's go take a look. I can't see the chronograph from here. We had 2366. That's pretty darn impressive. All right, just as expected, this thing rocked the block for sure. You saw that. Had a total explosion here. This bullet just completely tore itself to pieces. It sent itself up all the way to the 13-inch mark with what was left of it. We're gonna have to get that out of there, but I'm talking just shattered itself when it hit in here. There's pieces of copper everywhere. This thing went every which way. This is like a fragmenting bullet when it hit this, but the permanent wound cavity that's left over is really impressive. From the top down, you can see almost 9 inches of this craziness. It tops out right about there, and then it continues on. You can't see it that great. The block flipped on the ground, of course. We got a pretty good view here from this side. That's a little bit more clear. And just look at all that devastation. Each one of those little pieces of fragmenting copper or lead had its own little permanent wound track. So even though, like I said, it's not a rifle bullet, I mean, this would still leave one heck of a wound in something. There'd be a lot of blood loss involved here. And it still does go ahead and puncture. Now, I'm sure we'd like to see a bullet optimized for this, so we'll see what they do come up with. They do make a Hornady XTP mag, for example, in 45 caliber, that's meant to handle higher velocities. It doesn't come apart as quick, so it punches deeper before it opens up. Let's try one of these lead rounds and see what they do. All right, the XTP was impressive, but now let's try the 240 grain, just lead hardcast. I have a feeling this is gonna do some pretty cool damage. I wanna see if it goes through both of these blocks. That's 40 inches of gel altogether. I have a feeling it might do it. Once again, block destruction, and I'm pretty sure I saw a flash on the block. I wonder if we caught that on camera. So we had 2254 on the chronograph. Again, impressive. So 2 totally different rounds out of this beast right here produced 2 different effects, but both of them very dramatic effects, I would say. This one has one of those awesome explosive permanent wound cavities when you first start out. Classic. Travels down and remains one of those expanding wound cavities till about the 15-inch mark. Then it starts to go to more of the piercing effect. The round made it all the way to, I would say, the 26, 27-inch mark with a little bit of bounce back, and it turned around. It did smush itself out. It mushroomed, like just naturally mushroomed, not with a hollow point or anything like that. But very nice penetration, very nice wound channel. I think that's a very nice hunting round right there for sure. And yes, I said hunting round because if that's all you had, you could use that as a hunting round. I mean, I think that's good penetration for something with thick hide. I don't know what it might be. Maybe you'd use this on hogs or something like that. It doesn't always have to be a hollow point or something special. You can hunt with lead. And holy crap, I mean, the dynamite explosion that you saw in here, that's got to have some crazy effect inside of a, let's say, chest cavity or belly cavity of any animal. So the sun's going down on us. We got to call it quits for today. But I hope you enjoyed this introduction / sneak peek to the pretty much 400 Legend. It's not from Winchester, it's not from the makers of the 400 Legend, but for all intents and purposes, it's a 400 Legend upper, and we were shooting 400 Legend ammo. It's not head stamp 400 Legend, but that's what you're gonna get out of 400 Legend. Hand loaders, I'm sure you're gonna have a lot of fun with it. Thank you to T2 Armory for sure for playing around and just having fun in their shop doing things like this, and thanks for sending that to us so that we can show it to you. Awesome guys, check them out. Remember guys, none of this stuff that you've seen on this video is going to be for sale. This is just for fun, but we like bringing a cool sneak peek when we have the opportunity to. Hope you like these kind of videos. You should check out our playlist if you've never seen us before. We do all kinds of cool testing and bring you all sorts of information on really cool things. Check out our Bushwhacker, our 500 Bushwhacker videos for sure. You don't want to miss any of those. And until we see you next time at the next video, stay safe, have fun, and keep shooting. 400 Legend maybe.